Hey everyone, thanks for watching us here. It's the CB vlog. If you like what we're doing around here, go ahead, let us know, hit subscribe. That really helps us out. Leave a little comment if you want, or you can get involved directly over at patreon.com/commandersbrew and donate to the show, help us make these episodes, and get into our Discord. And then you can actually help us brew our decks that we make. It's a lot of fun. A lot of stuff going on over on the Discord. Spell table games, D&D, all kinds of stuff. It's really great. We've got a nice little community going on over there. So check us out over at patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, we're going to get into this week's discussion topic, which is, of course, the new Wizards of the Coast licensing deal, Lord of the Rings and Magic. Let's go. So yeah, Sean, big news this past week. Wizards of the Coast announced that we will be getting or I guess they didn't really announce it. It was like it was said in this like Hasbro investors call, I think, actually. That's where the actual source is. Magic the Gathering will be getting a full set of a Lord of the Rings like magic set, themed magic set. And they also mentioned Warhammer 40K, and I don't know if it was exactly mentioned in the same thing, whether that one was going to be a secret layer drop or if it was going to be a full set. Apparently, that was left a little bit ambiguous. But these are the two properties that were mentioned, and okay. So let's talk about it because
sure,
there's I think there's a lot going on here. A lot of people, a lot of opinions out there on Twitter. We've read a lot of them. But what do you think about just the idea of, let's just talk about the idea of the licensing in general and the fact that we're getting these two properties?
Yeah, I mean, gotta keep it simple because we don't have a ton of info specifics. Yeah. So we're just going on a lot of assumptions and guesses. But I mean, we're already in it. We're already in the thick of licensing, right? Like they've already licensed other non-magic things and put them in Magic one way or another. Mm-hmm. So that's never going to stop as long as it keeps making the money.
And we know that Walking Dead did make a lot of money. Sure.
So, I mean, if we're just talking about franchises in general, I think Warhammer 40K is it old Warhammer or Warhammer 40K?
It's 40K, the
old one
specifically. So
the future stuff.
Yeah, it's the future stuff. Yeah.
With the Space Marines. Well, I mean, there's already orcs.
Yeah.
And
Space
Lord of the
orcs.
Rings is very, very magic-y anyway,
yes.
with giant spiders and magical items and different creatures and wizards. So like that doesn't seem like a stretch at all.
So you like the idea. You're into it. You're fine with it.
Am I fine? I mean, I'm fine with it because I've learned to be fine with it. And after I face it, I was a little, I felt a little salty about the Walking Dead business because it seemed so inappropriate.
Yes.
But over time, as it like you just can't fight. Like, there's no sense in just being grumpy about it. It's like, well, we're into it.
Sure.
And the question that I will have is, what's it going to look like 10 years from now? Is there going to be any coherent theme to any commander deck? Or is it going to be like that web comic that was going around where I was like, I tap my Whopper to give my to give Optimus Prime +2/+2. Like, yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned that cardboard crack comic, because it was kind of making the argument that a lot of people said when the Walking Dead stuff was happening, the whole slippery slope argument, which is a tough one because the slippery slope thing doesn't usually happen. It's not like a thing that's guaranteed or anything in any given circumstance where you use that argument. But it's kind of interesting to see that, like, not very long after, we're seeing the same thing. We're actually kind of seeing that come true. We're seeing one, I think, fairly unlikely. One, like, I think that, like you said, thematically makes a ton of sense, but it's happening. A full Lord of the Rings set? That's wild to me. I just want to say, personally, I love the idea of a Lord of the Rings set. I actually think, like, say what you will about licensing in general, but I think, like, isn't this kind of what we like, why we all kind of started playing Magic, is to, like, play with these types of things in this type of a world. Now, obviously, we've all grown to love the world that Wizards has created for Magic, and it's a robust and big world. Like, honestly, like, probably on the same scale as Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, right? Like, we don't have a Silmarillion to be, we don't have a literal history book to look at, but there's a lot of stories in the multiverse now. Lord of the Rings is just going to get added into there. But I think here's the other thing. Whenever they made one of those games, whenever they made another trading card game, and they've done it for everything, whenever they made like a Lord of the Rings trading card game or a Star Wars trading card game. I mean,
Star Trek. They made a Star Trek The Next Generation one.
Like, I played the Star Wars one. I actually love it. I think it's really good. But there is a thing that once I started playing Magic, I was just like, well, Magic's just better. Yeah. And I kind of wish that these other ones were just like Magic. So, hey, guess what? Now that's what it is. Lord of the Rings is just Magic now. Great.
Well, the thing that's different, though, there is one key difference as I see it, and here's why I loved playing the Star Wars game. Here's why I was interested in the Star Trek The Next Generation game, because I want to do the stories of the characters that I know. In Magic, there are no stories, quote unquote. There's like sort of like hidden things. It's like, oh, in this one, the story of Kaldheim is that this character faces this character and this happens, but it's not such a thing. But if I were to play the Lord of the Rings set, I'm going to want to throw the ring into Mount Doom.
Right. You want to play out
I'm not going to want to beat my opponent by doing like, well, it just makes sense if you just keep tapping Samwise and combining them with this, that's a win. It's like that doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings to me. I would want to do the movie, but when I play Magic, I don't feel compelled to do a movie. I'm just playing these cards.
Yeah. True. And that's because I think Magic starts as a game first, and then there's a story layered on top of it, whereas obviously Lord of the Rings is a story first, and then now we're trying to make a game out of it. I agree with that. I think you're right about that. There's a different feel to it. I will point out, though, that once I was playing the Star Wars CCG, and one of the most thrilling moments was when I was the Imperials. My opponent, Butler, was the Rebels. I had Boba Fett, and I had captured a pilot. It wasn't Han Solo, but it was just a pilot, and I was bringing him to Cloud City to do the carbon freezing chamber, and Vader was waiting there. And then, honestly, Butler had Luke training on Dagobah, because that was like a big deck of it was like the Jedi training deck, and he was like, "Well, the only guy I have out here is Luke. I got to make Luke go save this guy over Cloud City," and it was like, it was perfect. So here's the thing, though, right? So there's two things here. Yes, that's the plot of Empire Strikes Back. So awesome. This is so perfect.
Yeah. Isn't it awesome to play it out in a game?
But also, there was a lot of other stuff that wasn't at all close to Empire Strikes Back. Those elements, of course, were, because they're designed that way. But like, I had like Porkins in the back of Slave One. It wasn't Han Solo.
Yes.
So there's concessions you make, and I think that, I guess why I'm okay with it is because I think the folks at WotC are pretty good at doing that. They're pretty good with the flavor stuff. They're pretty good with, if you're familiar with the stories that come out of Magic, like, they're pretty good at making those cards representative of the things that happen in those stories and like the events that happen. I think actually they do a good job of that. So I'm excited to see if they can make that work when it comes to Lord of the Rings. And they're getting a full set, right? We're getting a full set. We're going to have a Mount Doom. We're going to have the One Ring. We're going to have Gollum. And, we're going to have all this stuff.
I mean, I'm just playing counterpoint here.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
The reason the Star Trek The Next Generation game was the worst is because they put all the characters at mythic rarity, or whatever they called it, right? Like their equivalent of mythic. So like I bought like a starter deck and a couple of packs, and I was just like, I have nobody that is from the show. This is the worst. So like are you telling me you're gonna want to like open a box of Lord of the Rings and just like, if I like, all I want is the Fellowship. Like do you know how hard it is to get 7 legendary characters on your side of the battlefield for more than one phase. Like you will never see the Fellowship in that Magic world. And that's not a knock against like Magic.
How many times did you have the Gatewatch out? You know, how many times did you assemble the Gatewatch to stop the Eldrazi?
But see, here's the thing. That's like when I play Magic, though, that's happening in the background on Zendikar, and I never feel like I have to achieve that.
True.
But if I'm playing Lord of the Rings, again, like I don't care if Zulaport Cutthroat like sees Samwise Gamgee die and someone loses a life and I gain a life. Like that's meaningless to me.
So, okay. That's valid. I think that's a good point. So I think that it's pretty easy to say like some people are still upset about this because they're still sore about the Walking Dead stuff. I think that I'm more happy about this version because it's a full set. Because it's like it's going to have its own draft environment and everything, and we're going.
Do we know that's true? Will it have a draft environment?
Supposedly, it's a set. I'm assuming
like
the draft
I'm
part
assuming
of it.
that,
yeah.
But I don't know if that's true.
No, we don't know if it's true, but let's assume for a second that if it's a full set, that it's meant to be drafted.
Okay. Okay.
Whereas the Walking Dead problem for I think most people was the fact that it was only available through Secret Lair, right? We couldn't buy packs of the Walking Dead one. So that's a key difference. So speaking of this type of thing, speaking of this this kind of difference, like what do you think is the best way to do it? Do you think the best way to do it is through something like Secret Lair? Do you think it's better to release full sets? Do you think it's better as like, hey, that comes as a commander deck? Guess what? You get to have the Orc commander deck. You get to have the, or is it like, so here's an idea I had. What if they did something like this? What if they did something called bronze border? Okay. We've got gold bordered. We got silver bordered, black border. What about something, and bronze could be anything. It doesn't matter. Bronze border. Basically what it is it's its own full set draft environment. You draft it, you play it limited, but it's only legal in Commander. What about that? So we don't have.
So this is similar to like a Masters set, like it's skipping standard.
Yeah.
Like Eternal. This was Eternal Masters, right? Legal in Commander.
Yeah.
But not legal in other formats.
Not even Legacy, not even Vintage, not even any of that stuff. I mean, I don't care if you want to tack that on, that's fine. But the reason I say Commander only is because it's basically a silver bordered set, right? It's outside of the world of Magic. We don't have to adhere to any of the like flavor stuff because it's Lord of the Rings also. So we keep it basically silver border, but just to like remove any of that like weird stigma of like, hey, can I use this silver border card in my Commander? Yeah. Let's make it a different border and just say that border is legal in Commander. Because essentially like those gold border cards, like they're basically legal in Commander. You know what I mean? Like no one's going to turn up their nose to you running one of those World Championship cards. And like that the other day that got me thinking of like, couldn't they just do that for these types of things?
Well, I mean, but I think, but like with Eternal Masters, they don't even have to do that. Like they can just say like, yeah, we're just not this set. We're not saying it's legal and standard. We're not saying. I guess the Legacy is the only question mark, but I think you have to. I guess silver bordered isn't there. I don't know. I think that's a fine solution. I think it's also fine to just say like they're not going to break Legacy or Vintage with these Lord of the Rings cards. So I think like it's everything's going to funnel into Commander no matter how you release it.
That's true. And I guess they don't really care if they break Legacy or Vintage. It's not really a big concern for them, it seems, anyways. One final thing. Is there anything... So are there any other licenses you would actually like to see?
Well, yes. Well, I'm gonna half answer this. I would like to see more licenses, and I would like to see them have their own sets. And the legality discussion has to be addressed. I don't know how to solve this problem, but I would love to see the Warhammer set, but I would love to see it do things differently. Like you're always going to have lands, but like maybe something's different. Maybe the lands are a little bit different. Maybe you have different colors, but they're different types of machine resources or something, or magical things. And now we can have like weaponry. Like maybe now there's like projectile, like there's guns and lasers and stuff, and it only exists in this set. I mean, everything gets to Commander, and Commander would get real weird after a few years of all these sets. But like, I think it would be awesome to be able to like have the similar rules that we have, but just paint them differently and have a whole different feel. So there's no red blue spells. It's like, I don't know, gas and electricity, like, and that theme is like vehicles or something like that. And it's like, it's still tapping in combat and phases and instants and counter spells. I don't know. I think that would be fun.
How would that mesh with, would that be able to play with regular Magic cards?
I don't know. Like, this is where it gets real murky, because you can't take a big design risk and plan for it to mesh well with existing cards. Right? You can't do both at the same time. So I think it might be nice to see what they could come up with if they're allowed to really let loose and be like, this doesn't have to work with anything. It's still Magic, but it's wild.
I think that this is going to be very popular, and I think that the people upset about it have every right to be upset about it, because they like...
Because everyone's feelings are valid.
Of course. And you like what you like, and sometimes you're afraid of it to change, and if it changes for the worse and becomes something that you weren't there for, like, that's disappointing, and that's a bummer. I do see a lot of people being like, well, they just lost another customer. And I was like, okay, well, at least let's at least see what it's like first. You know what I mean? Before you start, swearing off of the game you fully do like. That's also the funniest how people do this to something that they love. And I get it. There's a whole corporate thing going on here that's like, it's not super altruistic. It's, they're in this to make money, and they're going to tug at our heartstrings of our childhood things that we love and all that kind of stuff. This is the world we live in. Here's what I want. Here's what I know. Here's why I know this is going to be huge. Not just because of Walking Dead was huge. Honestly, that was a surprise to me. I guess I just didn't know how many people still liked Walking Dead. Anyways, we all have made decks and or have like made cards or altered cards to look like other things. Right? I believe the second or third or even fourth deck we did, Sean, on this very show was a Lord of the Rings deck, and we had characters sub in for Frodo and Gandalf, and like that was not only was that like fun because we got to find, hey, what's the Magic equivalent to Gandalf? Like that's a fun thought experiment, but also just to be like, hey, I'm playing Gandalf, like that's fun. And even though we had to like pretend Arcanus the Omnipotent was Gandalf, it was still fun. Well, guess what? Getting actual Gandalf is going to be fun. I promise you, if you like Lord of the Rings. The alters, like people get their stuff altered all the time. It's go on the custom Magic thing. There's people who design entire Star Wars sets. There's people who design entire like X-Men sets of Magic. I was lying down the other day and reading my phone, and I saw this news, and I was like, oh man, I was like, it'd be fun to get an X-Men set. And then I just started thinking, I was like, what color is Magneto? What colors are Wolverine? Like, what's that legend? That's exciting to think of and see. And if they make that, that's like, I'm in. I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in.
Anyways, so at first I didn't think I was in for this, and then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, wait a second, I think I love this.
Well, and ultimately, what could it hurt? If they make 1 million IPs, you can get your Transformers set, or your X-Men set, or your Star Wars set, or your Super Mario World set. Like, what could it hurt? Are you going to make the argument that, well, now when I play Commander, there's all these weird mishmashed of things going on? It's like, I mean, if that's the only thing that's bad, that's nothing.
Yeah, like the feel of the Magic being its own thing, disappearing from it, is something it's something that's like, it's kind of a bummer, right? Like if every second deck you ever play against that Commander Knight is like, this is my Wolverine deck, and this is my, Gandalf deck, and this is my whatever, Meat Boy deck or whatever. Like, yeah,
this is my Princess Toadstool.
Yeah, like
deck.
that's gonna be. I agree. I actually agree that that's like, oh, we kind of lose like the identity of Magic a little bit. I guess we just have to. It's hard. It's hard to say to trust something like Wizards, where like they're kind of being run by Hasbro. We know this for a fact, but we know that there's people in there who are passionate about what Magic is at its core, and like the stories of, and the characters of the world of MTG, right? Like, so I don't think we're going to ever completely lose that. I feel like, yes, there's a chance that down the road it goes off the rails, and then I guess maybe you'll be right. But like, if it's going to go off the rails, at least have fun for the part when it's like teetering on the rails and it's still pretty fun.
Sure.
Let's at least try to do that, I guess.
I'm not gonna start real worrying until Rosewater retires. If that guy goes like, I will have, from this day forward, I will now sever all ties with Magic, I'm gonna be like, oh no.
I do want to say one more thing. For the people who aren't into this idea and who have legit concerns about it, I think it is good that you voice your concerns, actually. And I think that, like, if overwhelmingly everyone really didn't like something that was being done to this game that you really like, and that you've invested not just money but like time and thought, and like friendships have come out of it, all that kind of stuff, that's important stuff. I'm not trying to be like dismissive of anyone who thinks it's a bad idea, but just remember to express those things, constructively and politely, basically. But you can still be like, I don't know, be passionate, like that's okay. I think that's good. I think that's good for, like, we're even saying it right now. I like the idea of getting a Lord of the Rings set, but like if it does get to the point where like every other deck is like some other license, like that's gonna look pretty different, and that's gonna feel really different for this game. And I don't know if that'll be the death of Magic, which everyone says is about to happen, or if it's going to be just kind of, I don't know, blah or whatever. Anyways, the concerns are real. I think they're fine to have, but right now I'm still on the excited side of it, personally.
Yeah, me too.
So we'll see. Sound off. Let us know what you think. If you're a patron and you're in our Discord, would love to hear from you in there. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit us up in the comments. If you're listening, audio only, feel free to reach out on Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew. And let us know what you think about this and where you think this is going to go. And maybe, or, if you're stoked, what licenses do you want to see? Like I said, I would love to see like the MCU. I'd love to see Marvel, X-Men. I'd love to see we kind of have a Thor card, but like I was like, yeah, I guess that's Thor. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, no, let's get a real Thor card. Let's get Thor Odinson out here. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for this week. We'll be back next week on the vlog with the top 10. Back again. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.